Hello.
Aha, there we go.
Do you think that there are some entities tonight?
Oh, there's definitely some crazy energy that's going on.
I
I don't know if
think
it's
so. I
interference
think
directly here, but yeah. Here, let me share this to my page real quick.
yes, and I'm not even
There we
touching
go.
anything because I don't even. Please, Bill, if you watch this, can you share this on Olenko's Kitchen page? So this interview is supposed to be from my page, and I don't know. I'm supposed to be on the computer, and now I'm doing this on the phone. And sorry that his dad and my husband were on your interview. So one day
Oh, no
we'll do
worries,
another
no
one, part
worries.
two, like a professional one. But so yeah, so glad that we finally connected. So can you tell us a little bit, Eric, about your story? This is going to be amazing. Eric does this amazing thing with removing implants and entities. And I think there's a lot of entities, especially tonight with with the Super Bowl and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how you started doing this
Oh,
kind of
definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I just actually I magically tripped into this. It started off with just trying to be a better person than I was yesterday, and as one thing led to another, I got to the point to where I started doing yoga and energy work and qigong inside of myself. You know, Reiki and stuff like that. And it really was just amazing how one thing led to the next, led to the next, led to the next, and I ended up somehow in massage school, and then I somehow was working for a chiropractor, and then I was somehow getting training in Reiki that cost thousands of dollars, and a friend was just giving it to me for free. And it went from like one thing to the next to where all of a sudden I was suddenly very aware of the energy inside of my body, the way that emotions felt, like things that feel good, like joy, excitement, happiness. There's a very open, bubbly type of a sensation that accompanies that. And with fear, anger, stuff like that. One of the things about that type of a sensation in the body is that we have the noise, the words in the mind, that they completely and totally cause us to ignore the sensations inside of the body. And one of the biggest sensations that you'll start noticing is when you have, fear or anger or something like that. You'll have very, very odd sensations inside your abdomen and your stomach. And a lot of people don't give them the credit that they're due. Like, these are very real energies inside of the body, and they're actually causing physical damage. And as you feel anything that doesn't feel good inside of the body, it starts to cause blockage. Things slow down. And I just all of a sudden started popping into this world and not really recognizing what I was messing with, and not recognizing that there's a whole bunch of things people say that you can't do. And I just started doing it. I just started having fun with it. And one thing led to the next. And I started to recognize that I don't want to use color anymore with my energy work. And so a lot of the times in Reiki, you'll be using the visible light spectrum for the work. And I was recognizing that if you break apart a beam of sunlight with like a prism or something like that, you can see all of those colors inside of that light. And so I said, well, why don't we just go to the source and start using the golden sunlight? And so that was the biggest major shift for me when I started doing this. That's when I started actually noticing physical changes when I was doing energy work. And this all started building and building. My energy work got stronger and stronger. And, people would have a headache. They'd have a, back spasm or something like that. And I'd put my hands on them and I'd push energy and light into their body for, 5 or 6 minutes, and then it would disappear. They wouldn't feel the pain anymore. And I was sitting here thinking to myself one night about the chakra centers, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet spectrum that runs from the root all the way up to the crown. And I was thinking to myself, well, if it's so much stronger when we integrate all this light in together, why don't I turn my body into a sun, into a projector of this full spectrum of light? And that was when I started to really kick this up a notch. And it all culminated one night in the beginning of February 18th, 19th, 2014. It was sometime around in there. And actually 2013. And it was sometime around in that area. And I managed to turn all of my energy centers into brilliant, glowing suns. And it was such an explosion of energy inside of me that I'd never experienced before, that it was physically starting to actually like burn my chin because my heart space was so hot. And I could like push in, and I could feel like a magnetic pressure pushing my hand out. And it was just this huge type of ancient stretching is the only way I know how to describe it. There was like this that felt energetically on a level that I've never experienced before. Like I was moving muscles that I'd never knew I even had. And at the same time, I had like right here in my temple, this clicking sensation that started to slide backwards inside of my head. And it took maybe about 6 or 7 seconds to slide all the way back. But there was three things that were going on. First, I had that weird click that happened and it started sliding back. And then secondly, was the pain. It started as immediately, as soon as it clicked, it was uncomfortable. And then the further back it got, the more intense it got, until back here, it felt like there was almost like a red hot iron being pushed into my head. And then the third thing that was going on is my own internal voice, my voice that I speak with inside of my mind. That voice, it started to get stretched out, slower, more distorted. And it got to the point to where it had like, there was a very angry yelling that was inside of my head, and it was completely separate from me. And that was my first introduction to the implantation systems. And so knowing what I know now, what was going on is I had, a control type of a device inside of my head that kept me from focusing and having calm inside of me. That was always, going over past traumas, going over things that I should have said in a conversation, things that I have to do, things like that. And it was really just nonstop, never giving me any rest. And so that's what I clicked loose, and it started to pull backwards. And as soon as I made that connection of, oh my goodness, there's something in my head and that's not me, that's when it started to like really try to clamp down on the energy. And it felt just so painful, and I just had to get it out. And so I pulled on it, not knowing what I was doing. And I was like trying to pretend like I had a pair of pliers inside of my hands energetically. And all kinds of weird things were going on. And it took me about 3 hours to get that first thing out of my head. Once I got it out, though, that was when everything just completely shifted. I felt it drop out of my field like it weighed 40 or 50 pounds. And it just completely and totally away. And it felt like I got weightless, like I started to float upwards. And at the same time this happened, I had such a clarity and such a silence inside of my head that it was like I was by myself inside of an empty cave, listening to like the deafening stillness. Like the stillness and the silence was so loud and obvious that it was almost like overwhelming for me. And I was recognizing that the tension was leaving out of my neck, out of my shoulders, and it was getting stuck inside of my heart and my intestines. And I kind of paid attention down there, and I recognized that there was another black lump inside of my heart and another black lump inside of my guts. And I started to pull those out, and they were way easier to get rid of. And it was like all of a sudden I didn't weigh anything. And I felt my feet physically touching the ground, but it was like I was a balloon, and I had no pain whatsoever. And when I would close my eyes, I would feel everything within about a 50, 60-foot radius around me, including the bugs that were crawling in the dirt underneath my house. And I had, like, after this, it was about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks of just like, I need to be in a mental hospital. I just had like demons screaming inside of my head, like there's something wrong here. But at the same time, I could like tune into other people, and I could see these black spots inside of them, and I could point it out, and I would ask them, does it hurt right here? And they'd be like, oh yeah, no, like my neck, it's just been, I must have slept on it wrong or something like that. And then I would say, hey, can I do like some energy work real quick? And they'd be like, yeah, sure, and I'd reach up and I'd grab this dark thing, and all of a sudden the headache would be completely gone, the neck ache, the backache, everything, it would disappear. And I still felt amazing. And so I'm like, judging these two things, like society says that I had voices in my head. I know I did. Like there was some weird stuff going on in there. And yet once I pulled it out, I haven't heard anything since. And my whole entire way of existing inside of my body has completely changed. Okay, so this is definitely something that's odd here. But when I see this in other people and then I start pulling it out for them, they have the same result.
Hello, so this is interview number 2, trying with Eric Ryan. So I don't know, as I spoke to Eric, he says very often when he talks about energy, the technology sees the energies, we are energy, everything, we are surrounded by energy, so energy is changing. So let me invite him. Hold on, I'm inviting him, and I hope Eric will join. So this is, yeah, I never done this way, but hopefully Eric will join me again. But the energy is very interesting tonight. I am back. So when you get home one day, Bill will do the professional way, another interview with Eric. But this, this is still very good. So I requested you, Eric, to join, so I hope, okay, I'm gonna hold on. Okay, I think we'll... Hello.
Hi.
I was just telling them, I don't know if you heard me, when, when we're dealing with energy, the energy, the technology crashes, right?
Yeah, that's actually something that I've been noticing more than anything. I break electronics,
Me,
and what can you do when you start raising your frequency and you start creating very strong fields that work inside of electromagnetism? This is what a lot of this stuff is working on right here, and so it's kind of easy to start frying stuff. So the only thing you can do is laugh about it and keep going forward, right?
exactly. I always, every time I touch like the light bulbs, they will like blow out, or things will break, electronics. So yeah, I guess two of us together, there we go.
Yeah. So I don't know where we were when it cut off last time. Could you kind of prod me in the right direction?
Yes, you were talking about, your experience, and then when your story, and then how you started working with people, and you had stuff in your head. And I have a question actually. So can you explain it, that these parasites, those entities, are different than like a real parasite in the body, or is it connected? Because I did have a real parasite. I have an amoeba when I went to Jamaica, and doctors couldn't find it for 6 months. I felt horrible, but I kind of feel maybe I had some energetic amoeba or parasite too, so is there a coloration between like those two?
Yeah, so there's definitely a connection between those two right there. I often find that when there's physical parasites, more often than not, it's a fungus that more than anything. One of the biggest prevalent ones is Candida. Candida is a parasite of the highest order. Candida, it causes your brain to start rewiring, so you crave a food that is processed and full of sugar and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's really funny because you actually start finding inside of the body correlations with trauma where you find physical infestations of parasites. And so, yeah, there's definitely something that goes along hand in hand with that right there. And it's really kind of funny though, because as soon as you start getting your energetic field to the point to where you can clean out the things that the parasites are going after as food, they clean out regardless, whether or not it's on the energy world or it's on the physical world as well. And it just, they're kind of our friends. They show us exactly where we have an imbalance that we need to start putting our energy to and start cleaning out. It's like, thank you.
When it comes to food, I mean, I very healthy diet. So I think with me was like also emotional, maybe at that part of my life. So very
Yeah.
interesting. Then I have another question. Like sometimes I really feel like I have some like parts of my body. I actually do this, like tapping, when the technique
Hmm.
when you do tapping, but I actually like do sometimes intuitively, like I know like part of the body. I feel like they are like some buttons or something, like a computer, and I start turning them. And the last time I had something like this right before our trip, before our cruise, then I had a vision of the soldier. I think I had tapped some like other lifetimes, and I some like wounds from, like I was wounded with like a soldier from Napoleon time or something. And actually I was walking with the trees, and I saw the face of that soldier in the tree, because usually I do
Mm.
like hug trees and everything. So it was very, very interesting, how it manifested. So what are you talking, like I know some of the viewers, maybe like my viewers, they'd be like, this sounds really weird, like what are they talking, this is like real, this stuff is real,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like you can't deny it, so
So one of my favorite ones, actually, it happened when I went to an event last summer. And this lady, she didn't tell me anything about what was going on. I had to go all on an intuitive feel. And immediately I started getting drawn to her left hip and the psoas. The psoas is a muscle on the front side of the spine that if you ever, like when you're riding your bike, it lifts up your leg. That's the motion it's responsible for. And it actually causes more lower back pain than just about anything else out there, because it will literally pull the body forwards, and then everything will hurt on the backside. But you see people hunched over forward grabbing their back saying, oh, my back hurts, and it's actually this muscle right there. And I started going into this, and it was just the craziest thing that kept coming to me. So I started inhaling the energy flow into this tight knot of muscle, trying to get it to relax. And what happened was I kept on getting this image of it's like a jade pearl earring that was like wrapped in like gold filigree. And I kept on seeing this, and I kept on seeing this, and I finally said, so do you like jade? Like, is there a connection to jade or anything like that? And she kind of looked at me weird, and she goes, no, I hate jade. Like, I mean, I can't be in the same room as it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's really an interesting reaction that we're getting right there. Let's go into this. And so I started inhaling into the reaction, the place where she was feeling this this emotional response to jade and how much she hates it. And I went back to this ancient Chinese. I don't know exactly what era it was, but it was before the time of gunpowder or not gunpowder, but like Western influence. And so there was just this beautiful life. There was this beautiful palace and this just amazing, privileged life that she was living. And then there was something that happened with her husband, and the emperor ordered that the whole family be slaughtered. And it was just a really, really brutal thing that happened to such a pure, innocent soul. And she actually watched her kids get killed in front of her, and she took off running, and she was hunted for like 6 months before they found her and executed her. And it was just a really awful, awful type of a thing to witness. But as I was talking about this, her hip starts to release the pain, and she starts just crying, just bawling on the table. And so we get done with the session, everything's starting to let loose and let go, and we finally have everything to release. And she starts saying, oh my God, every single time I leave the house, I open the door and I am terrified I am not going to see my kids again. Like, there's just this fear that I cannot shake, and I don't understand it. And it's not like I even have a rough life. It's not like they've ever even had the threat of taking from me. And it's like this bone deep terror that I am going to never see my kids again as soon as I walk through the door. And she came back the next day, and she came running over, and she swept me up in the biggest hug, and she was just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I walked out the door today, and I wasn't scared of not seeing my children again. And I didn't even realize it until I was halfway here in the car. And my back doesn't hurt. My hip, it's been bothering me for the past 3 years. I haven't been able to get it to stop bugging me. I've taken all kinds of pain medication for it. It doesn't hurt anymore. And she was just so happy and so ecstatic. And she could hang out with Jade, and Jade, it was something that gave her a visceral fight or flight response. It was something, I don't know the connection with those earrings, but it was something about those earrings that brought all of that up. And so, just that alone, to see something like that and to not have any hint, I guess you could say, because she was one of those people who was like, well, I'm just going to test this guy. I'm not going to tell him anything, and I'm going to see what what happens. And immediately it was very, very obvious where this was coming from. And it wasn't her. It was something that was connected to her soul. It was her energy flow that was feeling this type of sensation, but it's not her that was that created the trauma that she was experiencing. And so she was experiencing, quote, karma. It was literally trauma and damage from another lifetime that was echoing through, and she was feeling the symptoms of it without having ever lived through it. And honestly, it's not supposed to be working like that. So when you find things that are connected in on that level, it's a really easy way to start creating healing on a much, much deeper level. Because, in the quantum universe, there is no time, there is no space. It's all the singularity. It's all right here, right now. And so if that happened in the past linearly with time, it's still happening right now. And that trauma is still real. It's still fresh. And as soon as we released it, and as soon as we transmuted it into what she wanted to feel, which was joy, which is unconditional love, which is, movement, flow, light, it was gone. It was completely gone. And it was beautiful to see. And I see stuff like this all the time. Like, there's so much correlation. There's so much causation with, if we flush out the gallbladder meridian right here, it silences the mind. If you start cleaning out the kidney meridian, it starts to bring energy and vitality to the body. If you start to flush out the pericardium and the heart meridian, you start to feel happy, you feel joyous. And there's just so much causation to this that, eating healthy, it's only the first step. It's only the first real way of getting clean vibrations into your body. But you have the ability to, I guess you could say, cultivate your soul. It's the vital life force, the essence that's inside of you, the spark of life. You have the ability to take control of that and then to make it into something that you want it to feel like. And that's what this is all about. And even if you don't believe in these types of things, the simple fact of deep belly breathing, it calms your vagus nerve response and it forces you into rest and relaxation outside of fight or flight. Even if you're in deep panic mode, like that right there, we can explain it scientifically and start going in on that level as well. And it doesn't matter how far away from the hippie woo woo community you are. Everybody has a vagus nerve response. Everybody's felt fear. Everybody's felt anger. And the bottom line is it doesn't feel good, and if you have the ability to make something that doesn't feel good into something that does feel good, it becomes healthy. It becomes something that it vitalizes you instead of drags you down, instead of making you spend energy on it. And that's the whole name of the game, right? We want to spend as least the amount of energy possible feeling the best that we possibly can. And when we have internal traumas and blockages that force the energy to push harder to get all the way through, then we're constantly working against ourselves. And it's just a simple way to look at things that are happening in a completely different light and recognize that instead of things happening to you, you have the option to make, any type of dysfunction an option, like literally an option.
Awesome. I have a question, another one question. So you help people let go of pain, like, so how about like PTSD, and how about even like children with ADHD or ADD or autistic? Do you think that they may have some kind of these implants, parasite, or it's just like,
Well,
other things? Or do you work with
Well,
children?
I wouldn't go. Yeah, I do work with children. I've got 5 kids. I kind of have to, but it's one of those things that when you start looking at it, a child with severe ADHD and a child that is quote unquote normal, you don't see much of a difference in the way that the energy systems are connected into um, the way that they're supposed to flow. It's almost like there is definitely a staticky, sparky type of an energy with a child with ADHD, but it's not so much along the lines of like a parasite that's trying to make them do that. If anything, I mean, we got to blame technology. We got to blame the environment that we're inside of right now, where we're bombarding ourselves with. I mean, even right now, I'm using Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
And these are frequencies that they do things to the body, and we have no way of saying what they're going to be doing to the body in 20 or 30 years, and we don't have the capability to even look into that type of research right now because it hasn't been that long while we've been using these technologies. And I think we got to start looking into some of the things that we're putting inside of ourselves. This weaponized GMO food. Some of these vaccines that really have no purpose whatsoever. And I'm kind of 50-50 on the board with vaccination because, I mean, it does help in some cases, but then there's things that we don't need to, non-lethal diseases. I mean, there's no point for doing stuff like that. And it's all about just recognizing that there is a huge transition of human consciousness right now that is opening up and expanding on such a broad, massive level, but there's also a huge push to really start making neurological development a harder thing to do. And just the way that kids are taught in school nowadays, it's not about learning to think for yourself. It's about learning to listen to authority. And when authority tells you that these are very specific things that happen in your body, you believe it, and so you start to make it happen. And we've got to start looking at the root cause of a lot of these things. And oftentimes, a child with ADHD, a little bit of heart-centered love communication with that kid will really bring them back into a much more calm, relaxed space. And it was really funny because my second youngest daughter, she's 6, and when she starts getting triggered, it's a full vagal response. She can't hear you. She's, doing her thing. And it was really funny because I was like, oh my God, I got to get this screaming kid to stop yelling in my ear. I can't handle this, like she's too loud. Okay, what are we going to do here? Like, there's no amount of yelling at her you can do, she can't hear anything, like you can't pick her up or shake her or anything. And so what I did is I picked her up and I put her right next to me and I said, okay. So what's going on? No, my ear's right here. You gotta be a little bit quieter. Kind of explain to me what's going on. And so it kind of forced her out of her vagal response right there. And all it took was some direct attention, some direct communication. And, you know, some like, hey, I see you're a person. I see that you're having a rough time right now, and tell me about it, you know? And it was really funny because not only was she forced to, in my proximity, she couldn't scream in my ear, you know, she knows better than that. She knows it hurts, it sucks. She doesn't like it either. And so she was not only having to force herself to calm down, you know, she had my attention, and it wasn't bad attention. It wasn't the attention from parents that, you know, a lot of kids, they start wishing they had attention and they start acting up and they get that bad attention. And you know what? That vagal response that she was in and that freaked out state that she was in, it disappeared within like 30 seconds. And then she was, well, this happened and that happened. And it's like, well, you know, that's okay. But here's the thing is like these blocks, these always get knocked over every time. You remember that awesome thing that you made like 2 months ago that you were running around with everywhere? It's not like that anymore. And you've got the opportunity now to make something even better. And, you know, like this ADHD connection that she has where she goes all crazy, all of a sudden it was focused. All of a sudden it was grounded. And, you know, my kids, they're rambunctious, but they're children, you know, and we got to stop labeling things and saying like this behavior right here that's caused by this, or this behavior right here that's doing that. And we got to start paying attention to our freaking kids, you know, like, and it's all about just bringing back that connection right there. And when you give a solid, firm representation of what the energy is supposed to feel like, they pick up on it, you know. And these are the programs that I show people how to tap into and how to communicate on that level of the program, because, you know, your parents, they might have had their issues and their traumas that they never talked to you about, and yet they still had that feeling, had that sensation that we pick up on as children. And then we start to emulate it even though we don't know what we're doing. And this is that program right there. It's underneath the words, it's underneath the surface. And instead of having that drama cycle continue, and that's what she's programmed for inside of her genetics, you know, because she's me and her mother. And we ended up having to, you know, have a lot of drama cycles that we had to shut down. And, you know, and it's one of those things that when you start seeing this and you realize the work that you're doing echoes inside of those little tiny mini me's, you know, it's all about like, hey, that kid's not rambunctious, that kid's looking for attention. Hey, that kid's not, you know, unable to focus, that kid just wants to play and have a good time like a child. Let's start making a game out of this learning, you know. And it's there's a lot going on. There's a lot of programming on the outside, but it's crazy how deep you can go against that programming just with a little bit of heartfelt connection and that heart-centered response and saying, hey, hi person, you know, I see you in there in that little body, I know you're a person, like, what's up, how's it going, you know. And that's what it's all about. And when we start really getting in on that level and you start recognizing that yeah, there's entities, there's things that, you know, kids are a lot more in tune. When they tell you that things are going bump in the night, they're probably right. And we got to start taking them seriously and letting them know, hey, it's not just something that I might not be able to see. I'm recognizing that you are having this situation. Let's go explore it together. Let's go figure out what's happening, and let's go make sure that we can make it feel better, you know. And that's what this is all about, because the kids, they're the next wave that's coming up. They're the next wave that is going to be taking over this planet. And I'll tell you what, I want people taking over this planet who know about these things, and it's not something that they're scared of. It's not something that they're trying to run away from, but it's something that they're constantly working to be better versions of themselves, simply because it feels good. And you know, there's a lot going on with the kids. There really, really is. And yes, some kids have more entity attachment than others, but by and large, these are just programs that are being passed down, that as soon as we get to the core of the root issue of why that damage is there and we release that, nothing that these parasites can eat anymore, and they have to go away anyway. So, you know.
Awesome. I mean, I don't have my own kids, but I work with kids, so I couldn't agree more. A lot of patience, a lot of love, and no judgment and no labeling, because those
Yeah.
labels are very hurtful. So, my other question is, so a lot, I see a lot of, especially in like spiritual circles, people saying, I want to go home, like star seeds, you know, indigo children, they want to go home. But I feel like we are humans, like Mother Earth is our home. We are here. We chose to be here. It's not a mistake. So what is your perspective on that? And because you are a massage therapist, you ground people, you work with these entities like cleansing. So like, what do you think? Is this our home? Where is our home? Below, above?
So I think our home is wherever our heart is, you know,
Yeah.
and if we're here on earth, that's where our home is right now. And yes, we might have come from other places, but why are you here? You know, what's the purpose of being here? And it's not to just pine away for home, it's to actively cleanse the darkness that's on this planet. And we are a part of this system. We've all had these dark sensations inside of ourselves. We've all had these things that, you know, we did not feel proud about thinking about. You know, these types of things are food for that side right there. And we can't just come in here and be inside of that darkness, inside of that system, and then expect to be able to go home if we don't change that system, because we're stuck inside of it, you know. And that's what it's all about right here, is recognizing that it doesn't matter where you're at, because you're not losing time away from another place. What you're doing is you're gaining time, you're gaining space, you're gaining the ability to work on yourself right here, right now, in this space. And when you start cleaning yourself out of these programs, the program has no choice but to shift with you. And that's why we're here, because enough of us do this, enough of us start to recognize how much we don't like the way that this feels here, and that the way everything in the surface of the planet is operating right now, the more of us who are going to start changing that inside of ourselves. Once we change that inside of ourselves, we can't stand by. We have to start changing our space outside of ourselves. And it starts with the individual. We start cleaning out our own individual space. And the next thing you know, we've got millions of people, then billions of people who are doing this. And the earth is like the Garden of Eden again. It's the planetary jewel of the entire cosmos, the way it was supposed to be, you know, as true custodians of the human race, of the human planet. That's where we are supposed to be right now.
Awesome. I know for those who are watching, so if somebody feels like they do have those kind of entities, yes, you're not crazy, and if you're feeling this, like, what will be like the next step? Contacting you? Can they? Do you have like some kind of steps that they can follow up and work with these energies on their own? Like, is there any ways? I don't know, like acupuncture, massage that they can help them exercise,
Oh, yeah.
or
Oh yeah, so there's a whole gambit of things that you could do. Like first and foremost, you don't need me to do this. Like I've got on my YouTube channel, if you go to unleashingnaturalhumanity.com, I've got 5 or 6 different meditations and tutorials, and then I've got presentations, I've got Q&As, I've got interviews, stuff like that. You know, you can get a full background on a lot of this. And then go to unleashingnaturalhumanity.com. I've got huge articles, 12,000 word articles that what's the name of it? Etheric implants and entities are human nature, part 1, 2, and 3. And those right there, they break down this whole entire system, and it goes down into even what goes on inside of the body, and more importantly, how to get rid of it. But if you go to the Unleashing Natural Humanity on YouTube, that's where you'll actually start seeing the tutorials, the breath of life meditation. That's one of my favorites right there, to start getting energy flow and connection to the body right there. The inner child meditation is something that I actually have on my Patreon, but I'm going to be putting that up on YouTube here anytime now. The emotion meditation, that's how you tap into much more higher connections to emotional resonances that you can then start moving through the body. And more importantly, I've got the prep work, extraction protection protocol prep work. That one right there, I go through lymphatic drainage, Qigong, what else is there? Conscious breathing, oh, and EFT tapping. And those right there, that's more than enough to really start getting your energetic field open. And if you really want to start getting it even more open, you need to start cleaning out your water, getting the fluoride out of your water. You need to start eating organic, clean, healthy food, things that are vitalizing for the body, that feel good when you put inside of your body. And you need to start stretching. You need to start getting some exercise, some sweat going. And that right there, it's more than enough to really start cleaning out any type of connections and attachments. And as long as you're focusing on recognizing that either A, what feels good inside of me right now is happening, or B, this doesn't feel good inside of me and I don't like it. You have to just start putting it into those 2 categories. And if you don't like what's happening inside of you, start focusing on what you do enjoy, and start making that so strong that you can bring that right into where it feels not so good, and it has no choice but to start shifting into it. It's transmutation. It's where instead of trying to cover things up or sweep things under the rug, we walk right into that heaviness, right into that stagnancy, and say, hey, this is what I want you to feel like. And that being said, if you can't do this by yourself, that's what I'm here for. I coach people how to do this. I do this for people. And I've worked with, geez, it's got to be like 4,000 people to date. I've taught roughly 300 to 400 people how to do this energy work, and it's just getting bigger. It's just getting to the point to where We're figuring more out. And then the more I figure out, the more I learn with people that I'm working with, the more I can teach people. And it's really just a beautiful feedback in the way that it goes, because I'm not able to research this all the time. I've got a lot of time working with clients, you know? And so as I teach people how to do this and they start their own experience journey, instead of, you know, just watching other people's experiences, they start creating their own. They come back and they start showing me some of the really coolest stuff that I was just like, what? How I would have never thought of this before. Like, this is amazing, you know? And they start showing me how to up my work. And it's just a really beautiful symbiosis of everything that's happening right here. And I absolutely love teaching people how to do this. And that's why I'm here. It's my mission.
So people, no matter where they live, they can contact you like over the phone,
Yeah.
internet. Yes, no
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Oh,
But
almost all of my work is done remotely. I hardly ever work in person. I used to when I had an office down in California, but ever since I moved up here to Oregon, I haven't had an office. I've just been working out of my home remotely. And it's really kind of interesting. I honestly find that the remote sessions are more powerful simply for the fact that there's no body that gets in the way. It's not like I can see their posture, and then I can start recognizing through my massage therapist eyes, like, oh, there's going to be tension here. Oh, there's tightness there. It's like, excuse me. It's like I have to go in completely blind. And inside of that blind state, when I'm there, it's just it shows up more, and the it's like the flesh doesn't get in the way, and you can start cleaning out the energy directly, and the flesh responds right inside of it. So it's really interesting. I've been able to do energetic chiropractic over distance, and I can't do that in person. I have to massage somebody to get their muscles to start letting go before the bones click back into place. And it's funny because I don't push them back into place. I get the things that are holding them in that misalignment to let go, and then they click back in. People just kind of have to move around a little bit. I can't do that when people are right next to me. I can only do that over distance. So it's really
interesting.
interesting. You know, I can work anywhere in the world. So
That's so cool. And I know, like when we went on the cruise, the Ways of Life cruise, you had. I love your little drum, and you make these
yeah,
drums. The
I do.
drum
Mhm.
triggers something in me, like the drums. Like I don't know, from other lifetimes or something, but there's something like I go into like, yeah, but I love your little drum that you, and you were not allowed to play, which I never heard. That what did they say? And then
Yeah, when we went to Tulum, they told me I couldn't play it, but I'd already been walking around the whole place playing it anyway. So, you know, it was like at the last 10 minutes before we were about to head out, they said that I couldn't play it, and I was like, "Oh, well, thanks for telling me."
it's like it cleans the energy. It's beautiful. It's like natural, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was so very funny. But yeah, I think like music is very therapeutic, and the sound, combining
Yeah.
with all different modalities. So are you doing any like uh workshop or something actually in person that people can join? Are you have like special class or offer that you'll be doing?
I do have a retreat going. It's at the end of June through the 4th of July weekend. It's a full 7 days. It's the Golden Frequency Immersion Retreat, and this is going to be squad 3. This is the third time that we've done this. And these are so fun. So, I mean, I go beyond the energy with these. What I do is I actually show people how to start releasing trauma directly out of the body. We do all kinds of really fun exercises, and these are things that I can't show people online. These are things that I have to actually be in the room to supervise, because it's one of those things that technique is very important, the placement is very important, and if you don't have somebody who knows what's going on, you can kind of hurt yourself trying to figure these things out at home. And ask me how I know this. That's why I figured it out. But so I show people how to do all kinds of different things, including how to release inside of the muscles in a direct level. And you can actually get way, way more flexible than you actually thought you were, just by knowing how to release the muscles by talking to the body in the language that it understands. And I show people how to do this. We go through Wim Hof training. We go through trauma release exercises. We do all kinds of really interesting things that build up the energy flow inside of the body to the point to where we do activate the bioelectricity. It's, easily 10, 15 times stronger than it was beforehand. And then we start to practice. We start to play. We start to use the energy, and we work with each other. We work on each other, and we start to do group work. And these last 2 years, it's just blown me away how much people have showed up with these. It's truly a life-changing week, and it's not just for them going through it, it's for me too, leading everybody through this, because It's a golden frequency immersion. That's the only way I know how to describe it. And by the time we're done, we end with these group hug ohms where we're breathing chi into the body, and you can feel this crystalline swirling, and it's just absolutely crazy. We actually had we were doing it by the fire last time. At one of the last nights, somebody was leaving. He wasn't going to be there for the last day, and so we were like, "Oh, we have to do this." And so we all took a deep breath in and in this giant group hug that we spiraled into, and we had stars and crazy filaments and lightning inside of the sky, and a cloudless sky that started arcing across the sky, and just it was really beautiful, and these people, they just show up and we create a space that is so powerful, and it's magic. It really is. There's no other way to describe it. And I do have online classes that I do. Those are all on the events page at the Unleashing Natural Humanity website. And I've got the Golden Frequency, the Foundations classes. Those right there, I teach everybody how to do what I do, including distance work. So we actually work on each other inside of the class. Those are really fun right there. And then the other one I'm doing is an 11-month coaching that's starting at the end of this month right now. And I'm going to show people the exact same stuff that I do inside of the Foundations class, how to activate the energy. But then we're going to start playing around with different frequencies like electromagnetism, void space energy, vacuum energy, crystalline energy, stuff like that. And each different resonance you tap into, there's a different sensation and there's a different ability that happens inside of the body with it. And so, I'm really excited about these. I can't wait to see where they go. And the more people who know how to do this, the better it is for everybody. And so I'm just thrilled and tickled like a peach to be here. It's great.
That's awesome. I mean, clearly we can see that you love what you do, and I think that's the most important. When people can like preach about whatever they want to preach, but it's like it shows, like, I think, like, person's life actually is like the true you know example. They can say whatever in words, but the energy doesn't lie. So I can just say, and I met you in person, that you just love, and you have this beautiful, like, child's energy, like a play energy. So just pure love and joy and bliss. So it's
Yeah,
a
that's what
pleasure.
I do. That's what I do.
Anybody who can, like, definitely, being those kind of in-person retreats are, I think, so awesome. I have a question now to change a subject. So what if, this is what I always ask all in my interviewers, if you can meet anybody, like, from the past, future, present, your favorite character from a book, movie, whatever, who would that be, and what would you do with them? Like, you have like the whole day that you can just have fun or whatever you want to do with.
Oh God, it's got to be Randall Thor from the Wheel of Time series. Do you know about the
Oh,
Wheel of Time series?
yes, and what would you do?
Oh man, we would channel stuff all day. We would completely and totally do nothing but magic all day long, and he'd show me awesome stuff, and I'd show him awesome stuff and how I do it.
That's cool. So like the full day of magic.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I got goosebumps thinking about that. Yeah, I grew up reading that series. I started when I was 15, and by the time the last book came out, like it was literally like a step by step, like this is how my life went. And it got to the point to where like that huge inclusion of how much darkness was all around, and all of a sudden he found that light inside and he started laughing. And like I couldn't believe it when I read that last book. It was just it was amazing. It's exactly what I do. It's not fighting, it's not warring, it's transmutation of the darkness into what we want the beast to feel, like give it compassion, give it holiness, give it sanctity, give it love, and all of a sudden the beast isn't a beast anymore, you know?
Awesome. And then another question, like, what do you do? I mean, I think you do what you do because you love you like what you do, but what in your free time, if you're not, cleansing the entities and parasites and not, I don't know, what do you do like in your free time, and what do you like to do? But I think you like to do what you do.
So I've gotten to the point to where I try to push myself into ridiculous levels, and so I've actually been working on my horse stance lately, and I've gotten my horse stance up to 48 minutes, and that's kind of something that I do in my spare time. I don't have much spare time. I've got 5 kids, and the spare time I have, it's after they're asleep, and that's about it. And so, geez, what do I do right now? I play some video games. I work out. I do my own energy work. I do my Qigong. I read books. I write books. I write stuff. I write a lot of my own things. I think a lot. You know, I'm always trying to like, well, what can I do next? What can I do this way? What can I do that way? And it's man, I'm a jack of all trades, master of few. But you know, those things that I do have in that path of mastery, I'm very good at. And so, you know, I try to just expand my repertoire. This is just one of the tools that I've got in my pack that I find interesting. I love woodworking. I haven't had a chance to do that in a while. I used to do construction, so I really enjoy working with my hands. I like the landscape and, you know, just things I haven't had a chance to do in a while. But once I do get those opportunities, that's what I'm going to fill my spare time with. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy creating. I enjoy seeing beautiful things. And if I have the ability to create something beautiful, you better believe I'm going to.
That's great. I was just gonna ask you because you have like this artist spirit, and I was gonna ask if you like some kind of art, painting, or drawing, and you said woodwork. So I definitely see that, you know, like
So
that
it's
create.
actually funny. So drawing, I know I could get better at. I just haven't actually sat down and done it. But give me a piece of clay and I can sculpt you anything.
That's great. I don't believe that like people have to draw like realistically because, you know, I teach art and I'm an artist, but yeah, I think everybody can draw and paint in their own way. It doesn't have to be, you know, like realistic, but yeah, it's just to express yourself. I think is such a good way
Yeah.
to release the stress and maybe even let the parasite go. So
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
so
Well,
especially
it wasn't until I tried to start drawing sacred geometry. That's when I started really seeing the world in a completely different way. And there was something about being able to take something inside of my mind and then put it down onto paper and have it be so mesmerizing as I was looking at it. And I could see, you know, the different depths of it flashing in and out. That's what really got me to start recognizing that, hey, I can look at things in a different way. It's not always just that one direction that I think it might be. I can kind of turn my attention this way and come around behind it, you know. And like that was one of the biggest epiphanies that I honestly had with all of this. And it was directly because I started drawing, you know. So I think you're right on that.
yeah, I think art is very healing. So there are I believe 8 billion people right now on this planet, and there are a lot of people who feel like, you know, we all ascending and we need to help others, and, you know, like sometimes even wake people up. What do you think of that? Like, is this our responsibility to be responsible for others, or everybody has their own path? And what I'm asking is, do you tell everybody about like these entities and parasites, or you only tell when people ask?
So that's a really good question, actually, and especially being who I am, you know, I'm kind of on the path of waking people up, you know, but I don't try to scream from the rooftops. I don't get on a soapbox. What I do is I state what I can do. I say, hey, this is my skill set, and let me prove it. And oftentimes, people they don't really believe what I can do anyway, and so they're very pleasantly surprised when suddenly they start feeling a lot better, and that opens up the doorway for all kinds of different conversations right there. Because suddenly, you know, you've done magic. You can't see it, but you can feel it, and all of a sudden, there's a lot more weight to your opinion, I guess you could say. And for people who can't do the stuff that I can do, they haven't trained themselves yet for it. The bottom line is your job isn't to wake everybody up to this. It's not to do what I'm doing right now. Your job is to literally become somebody like me. That's it. You know, you work on yourself to the point to where you don't need to look on the outside. You don't need to look into my information. You don't need to get my help or my coaching. And you can literally start becoming somebody like me who can show other people how to do this as well. That's when it doesn't matter if people think that, you know, what you're talking about is crazy or not, because then you can say, well, let me prove it. And, you know, that's the thing is people, they sell themselves a lot better when they can feel something. You know, you can talk all you want, but this is where the program is. It's inside of the words. But when you speak in the language of light, when you show on that level, that turns heads a lot more than any type of lip service will ever do. And that's where we want to be, is not really caring about what other people are doing on that level, but trying to make ourselves somebody who is shining. It's like a star in the darkness. People see it and they recognize it and they get closer and they're like, oh, this is warm. This feels pretty nice. I kind of want to do this too. And it's that thing. It's one person by one person by one person, and it's an individual process, but it's literally something that the whole entire planet is going through. It's just starting off with, a little here and a little there, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, with this Ascension event that everybody's talking about, it's not something that is happening to us. So this is something that we are actively creating. And as we bring in more and more light, more and more joyous resonance, these unconditional love frequencies into the planet, what ends up happening is a complete and total shifting of the, I guess you could say, the foundation of how all the collective is put together. And the shifting starts to open up a cleaner and cleaner resonance that, souls can come in a much brighter place and start learning how to do some more things that are a lot more incredible, and they can start building on top of where we left off. They can stand on our shoulders and become the giants of tomorrow. And, it's all about recognizing that the Ascension event isn't something that is happening to us. We are literally creating this, and it's all one person at a time, each person doing their work and releasing the traumas of the past and feeling better inside of themselves and inside of their space and interacting in their reality in a much cleaner way. That's living in fifth dimensional reality. That is being like you already have ascended. And when you already exist as if you're inside of something, you make it happen. And so that's what we're doing. We are literally creating this ascension just by being organically inclined to evolve. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So one more question. How do we protect our vehicle, like around ourselves, our body? That's like, you were trained as a massage therapist. And then how do we protect, and not even protect, but how do we develop, the ways to clean this, the energy, the emotional, psychological, mental, and what's more important together, like what shall we start for people? Because I get a lot of
Good question. Good question. So the bottom line, the parasites are after nasty emotions. So that right there is something that right away, that gives us a clue on where to look. And the whole entire purpose of getting rid of parasites is simply to get rid of the heavy vibrations inside of the body that are pulling you down on the energetic scale, that aren't allowing you to move upwards. And when we take this metaphor right here, we've got high vibrations that are moving upwards, low vibrations that are pulling downwards, and we apply it into physicality. It's almost like we've got a hot air balloon. You can pull on your cord and put as much hot air into that balloon as you want, but if you're still pegged and tethered to the ground, and if you've still got a bunch of sandbags in your basket, you're not going anywhere. And like this right here is one of the biggest things that we can start looking at. The bottom line, one of the easiest ways to start shifting into a much healthier state of mind and a state of being is to simply look, does this feel good or does this not? And in the moment where you're triggered, where you're pissed off at somebody cut you off, and you're flipping them off out the window and rah, 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 in that moment, do you feel good? And you can go with the story all you want. Well, that son of a so-and-so, rah, 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 did this and that. No, bottom line is, does it feel good? And you can be mad about it all you want, but the bottom line is it's not. It doesn't feel good. And so once we start breaking into that perspective right there, we can start recognizing that it's as simple as putting a smile on the face and not saying, I'm going to cover this up with a smile. I'm going to inhale this energy of the smile, and I'm going to see where it responds inside of my body with this anger. And then we start focusing where the body gets tense, where it gets sore, where it gets tight, where it gets painful. And then we start bringing that smile energy into it. It's almost like we're making a flow of energy from the nose all the way through the body, right into where we feel it. And then we, on the exhale, just feel the weight, the gravity that's pulling you down into the earth. Feel it dropping in, give it to the fires of the Mama Earth. Let Mama take it. And as we start bringing that smile energy in and we start releasing what we don't want, this is literally triggering a language that is outside of the brain. The brain speaks words, the body speaks sensation, emotion, intention. And when you tell the body, this doesn't feel good, this is what I want there, the body's like, oh, thanks, no, I got this, hold on. And then it's done. you know? And so it's all about recognizing that when you cultivate nasty emotions inside, when you hold on to resentment, when you hold on to anger, when you hold on to guilt or shame, regardless of whether or not these emotions are legitimate in the meaning that there were real things that caused them, regardless, the bottom line is that you're still holding on feelings inside yourself and don't feel good. And that simple differentiation and starting to look at it in that way, it allows you to kind of back away from the story, because inside of the story, you know, this happened to me, that happened to me, this happened, that happened. And inside of all of that word type of jumble right there, you'll still recognize that, yeah, I'm angry about it. This is why. And so it stays stuck inside. And when we back away into just this hurts, it doesn't feel good, regardless of the story, we can start releasing it on that level. And then all of a sudden the story really doesn't matter anymore. And so that right there is one of the easiest ways to really start cleaning yourself out like that. As for activation of bioelectricity, that is really, really easy. All you have to do is start focusing outside of the words, inside of the sensation in the body, and start focusing, deep breathing. And as you do this, just feel your skin. And as you feel your skin, start to turn up the volume dials of that sensation until that's literally all you can feel. And it'll start creating a tingling, a movement in the body, almost like a goosebump sensation. And that right there is increased bioelectricity. And you can start using that almost like wind in the body. And you can start moving it around, and you can start making it bright. You can start making it feel that smile energy. You can do all kinds of things. And it's really easy once you know how to do it. The problem is that most people try it 2 or 3 times and say, oh, I can't feel anything. And then they stop. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You just have to, you know, keep going until when.
All your energy just made me like so relaxed. I can just like, you know, it's just like go. Yeah, so nice. But one more question that I know a lot of people ask, and when I interview like people who do all this different energy work, you know, with ghosts or spirits, you know, you work with these entities and implants. So if we not allow, let me put it a different way, are these entities and implants, can they just go and attack us, or is there like we allowing them and opening because maybe we fearful, upset, angry, depressed, sick, you know, we kind of down on the low emotions, and we allowing these energies to attack us? And what are they? They like little mosquitoes, or like how do they look like? Do you ever see them, or is it more like just
So that's a good set of questions there. As for seeing them, I've seen all kinds of different things. More often than not, I feel them, because what I do is I create fields of energy inside of my body, and then I move them outside, and then I put them full of emotions that I enjoy feeling, things that are very high vibrational. And then what I do is I move that energy into where it's stuck, where it's not moving, and then anything that is not of that vibration, it becomes very obvious. It's like moving water through something that's stuck and hard. You can all of a sudden feel where that hardness is because the current goes around it. And so inside of that, I feel all kinds of different things. And when you really start to tune into it, like say for instance, like I feel something right here, and I start to really drill in my focus and start to pull back the layers, that's where I'll start seeing the images. And I've seen things from, insectoids, they're humanoid insects, all the way to full-blown insects, AI devices, things that are metallic in nature, almost like robots. Geez, what else have I seen? Reptilians, and tentacles. Like it's just, everything is so different. Like, I mean, I do the same thing every day, but my job is so completely different every day. And it's everything it's designed to specifically go after a specific flavor of food. And say for instance, like you hear about the 7 deadly sins, rage, lust, gluttony, so on and so forth. There's actually a parasite that exists inside of those exact specific frequencies that will start to, as soon as it feels a trauma, as soon as it feels something that is resonant on those lines, it'll go and exacerbate it. It'll make it bigger, and then it'll blow that up until it becomes a problem again. And then it'll revel inside of that emotion right there. So, it's not even though that we're not letting them in with tacit consent, like we're saying, oh, there's parasites everywhere, go ahead, I don't care. It's not that. It's that through the tacit implied non-consent, as in we didn't say no. And that's the thing right there, because our planet, it's, you know, we've got 8 billion people, but we've got trillions of these things. Like they're an epidemic. And so it's really to the point right now where I don't even know what you want to call it. It's like an infestation of desperate order. They're recognizing that Earth is going through this ascension, and this is the last place where they actually can exist in this frequency. There's no place else for them to go, and this is why we're seeing so much darkness in the world around us, with social division, with political division, with these wars that, surprisingly enough, are actually calming down right now. But you know, it's really kind of funny when you start looking at everything and you see how it's all connected in, and then you see how this whole system is designed to create haves and have-nots, and people who are scarce, that they don't have enough, and they live inside of not having enough to eat, you know. And like that's a very specific frequency that we could have eliminated on this planet with only about $30 billion a year. And we've had the technology since the 70s to do this. And yet we still continue with this right here. And it's not because a certain few people want to hold power or dominion over the rest of humanity. It's because they're infested with parasites that are causing compulsions and emotions that they don't even understand aren't even theirs. And it's like it's a burning need to have more. It's an addiction. It's something that they feel very deeply, and it's not them that's doing it. It's almost like they're puppets. And so, you know, what do these things look like? They can look like everything from a gigantic monster that's bigger than the planet all the way down to your next door neighbor who's got like a little tiny, you know, parasite that's inside of its mind, getting his mind thinking it, making him think about crazy stuff, or, you know, having that weird thought inside of his head about maybe what if I pulled the wheel over this way on the freeway and just ran into something, you know. And like it's those weird thoughts, those weird emotions inside of the body. That's what the parasites are. And it doesn't matter what they look like, because they will always try to evoke fear. That's what they want to eat. That's what they need to create. And so oftentimes it'll be something really scary. But the bottom line is, when you can see it, once you're aware of it, you have the ability to take care of it and turn it into whatever you want it to be, whether that's a being of light or restructured back into the central sun to have to start its soul journey over again. It really doesn't matter, honestly. It's about what they're doing, and then more importantly, what we can do about it.
Fascinating. So I'm so glad there are people like you, you know, to working with these kind of things. And yeah, I'm gonna definitely have a session with you, because I
Awesome.
think I have some things. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. So
well, you want me to take care of something real quick right now?
I don't know.
I can do it right now.
Is it
I'm tuned into it. Yeah, why not? Here, hold on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach up behind you, and I'm going to grab a hold of this tension right in behind your shoulder blades and the spine. I'm going to gently pull this down. There we go. Go ahead and move your neck and your shoulders around. How does that feel?
So much better. And I had so much tension on my shoulders today and on my like neck. I actually went for my nail. She was massaging me, and I'm like, oh, I feel so, I need like, you know, she gave me like a 2-minute massage, and I'm like, oh, something is stuck in my, I'm very sensitive to energy. And sometimes I feel, very often I come home and I like use the smudge, you know, I smudge myself. I use essential oils because I always feel like I pick, not always, but many times picked some energies, you know, to clean myself. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Here's a really quick exercise. I actually adapted this from Cameron Day. It's the simple, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. What I want you to do is close your eyes, and when you inhale, I want you to feel your gravity pulling everything into you. And that's the feeling of what's mine is mine. And on the exhale, reverse the flow and push everything that's not you out. What's yours is yours. Oh, there you go. See, deep earth connection already. You got your feet tingling, don't you?
It feels really good.
Yeah, see, it's easy energy work. It's just sensation. That's it. You just have to tell the body what you want to feel. Like, hey, this is mine. This is yours. Like, it's easy. You just have to start translating into feelings and sensations instead of just words.
It's interesting that sometimes body does its own things. Like, I don't know about you, but after the boat, after we came back, I you know, I felt sick the last day. I think you were a little seasick too. I think we were
Oh
all.
yeah, I slept until 4 p.m. that day.
Um,
Oh man, I was
but
so sick.
yeah, but then on Monday I was fine in Tampa. But on Tuesday I took a day off. Good that I did because my plane, I didn't get home till like 3 in the morning, and
Oh
I
wow.
felt so seasick on Tuesday. I really, my body, I never had this kind of feeling, was like moving. My husband is like, "Why are you moving?" And I'm like,
Wow.
I don't know, like, you know, like on the boat, my body was doing all these like weird things. Even when I was sitting, like I was doing like this, and it's such a weird. Like I have very good balance. I used to dance. I used to do
Mm,
yoga, and I couldn't control my body. I don't know. I think when people have vertigo, they have something like this. It's a horrible feeling. So it's very important to like really, you know, be in sync with your body. But
yeah.
it was just strange feeling. Did you have that? Did you have like that?
So I actually kind of wanted to feel that,
No,
and
you
I
don't.
didn't. Like,
Okay.
so that was the whole reason I was like wanting the boat to even rock to begin with. And then I tried to read. I made it through about 20 pages of my book before my stomach turned over on me that morning. And then it was just over and done with. I got so sick. I guess Sierra came in and she said that I was passed out unconscious and I was green. Like, I mean, and I'm really glad I wasn't awake for that. But the whole reason I wanted the boat to even rock was just so that I could actually feel that sensation when I was on land, how it would be like I was like phantom rocking back and forth, and I never felt it. I was really kind of disappointed, actually.
And for me, I wasn't like this on Monday, but I was like this on Tuesday. I think maybe being on the plane and it was kind of bumpy, you know,
Mm,
turbulences. I think it messed it up. Like the boat was going this way, the plane was going that way. I think it like it messed it up some kind. I don't know. But
yeah,
nature is so powerful. I just, you know, like
yeah.
it's amazing. We like nothing compared to the ocean when the ocean is just doing its own thing.
And
And
see, that wasn't even that rough comparatively,
I know.
that was like what, 15, 20 foot seas, and that massive thing was rocking so much. Oh my goodness.
So so interesting. But yeah, I think, you know, if anybody who's watching, you feel that you have some kind of, you know, this energetic parasites, or you don't feel well, definitely, you know, check Eric's website. Can you tell them again your website, your YouTube?
Yeah. So the website is unleashingnaturalhumanity.com, and the YouTube is unleashingnaturalhumanity.com, or Unleashing Natural Humanity as well. I'm here on Facebook under Unleashing Natural Humanity, and Eric Reigns as well.
Awesome. Is there anything else that, oh, we didn't, that I forget to mention? Today was kind of a weird interview. Sorry, we got,
Yeah,
you know, it's in a cut in half. I'm gonna ask my husband to put it together, and another time we're gonna have a part two. I know I'm gonna get a lot of questions, and then maybe you can answer some questions. I
yeah,
know there were
definitely.
a lot of people texting here, but because on the phone I can't really see it. It goes so fast, and I'm not even touching the screen. Like I'm afraid to touch it because I don't want to mess up something. So, but I know people were saying hi, and then they love your energy, and many different comments. But I don't know. So, anything else that you want to add?
Oh, well, let's
To
let's tune into something. What would be the most beneficial thing to come through right now? Ah, see, this one comes up quite a bit. Okay, so the energy around this is the only thing that people truly are really scared about hearing what I say is that this means that they are way more powerful than they gave themselves credit for. And this is totally true. Every single person can do what I do. And it's not that it's something special. It's not that I am a master or a guru or anything like that. It's simply that I have traveled this path a bit longer than most. And so I know how to do more things with it. That's it. I can teach anybody how to do this. If you want pain, dysfunction, or crazy thoughts or emotions to be an option inside of you, I can literally show you how to do this. It's not something that's hard. It's something that's easy. All you have to do is be very aware of your own consciousness, your own ability to focus, and more importantly, if you can breathe and you are conscious and you can focus, you can do this work. So that right there, it's one of the easiest things to do. It really truly is. And for God's sake, don't put me on a pedestal because I am not better than anybody and nobody is better than me. We are all in this great path together. And that's what's so fun about this is I can show people how to do this and they come back with things that blow my mind. And I just love seeing the symbiosis and how much humanity is growing from what I'm able to provide. So, thank you for allowing me to be here. This is a lot of fun.
yes, thank you so much. And again, we're gonna have part two. So for those who have questions, you can email me or text me, or send me in the messenger, and then one day I schedule another interview when I have the husband at home, and we can do it part two. I know you're very busy. You actually had an interview today before, so you must be, you can't
Yeah.
wait to relax and have spend time with your family.
Oh,
Oh no,
I didn't have to work today. Like this was actually a really easy day for me. Like it's just been sitting around talking to people, so it was a lot of fun.
so that's fun. So thank you so much. What's the weather right there in where you are?
It was actually pretty nice today. We got into the low 60s, so it wasn't too bad. The rest of the country right now is in negative numbers, so I mean,
We
we're
did.
doing a lot better than most.
We did, but actually today we had like 45 weather. It felt like spring
Mm.
after the 0 degrees, when I came from the
Yeah,
cruise. So cold.
yeah, after 0 degrees, like I'm sure it feels like it's almost like 90 out there by
Yeah, everybody
now.
was like, "Oh, it's summertime," and I'm like, "If this was summer, we would be like, it's freezing," because it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, like what your body is used to it. So,
Hmm.
so enjoy your evening, and thank you so much. Thank you for shining your beautiful light
You're
and
very
sharing
welcome.
your energy and your knowledge. And yeah, you have such a beautiful energy. And I'm gonna also be interviewing your lovely partner and one time about the family and the kids and spirituality. So
Awesome,
set that up.
awesome.
And maybe I can
I
have you together, but I
well,
think with the kids it's hard.
I'm telling you right now that I honestly believe I am building this platform specifically for Sierra to start talking from when she feels like it's time to start talking, because she is she's the reason that this is working here on my end. Not only is her tactile sense and her knowledge coming through with my lack of linear time. God, I am the worst at scheduling, and if it wasn't for Sierra, I'd never get anything done, honestly. But the wisdom that she brings through, she is way better at this work in many aspects than I am, and I can't wait for her to start getting out there and teaching people what she has to teach, because I mean, you guys are looking at the results of some of it through me. I take a lot of what she brings to the table to heart. She's a very, very wise woman, and I'm really excited that you're going to be interviewing her.
Yes. I'm excited too. And she can also talk about, being a mom and raising kids and spirituality. I think that would be very interesting, this kind of
Oh
perspective.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
guys are
she has.
awesome.
She's got a whole list of things. She's amazing. Wait, you'll see. You'll see.
I know. So we have to schedule that. So thank you again. And sorry guys, for the technology not working and the energy, but I think it's because you're dealing with the energies. I think it had something to do, uh, you know.
Yeah.
So thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And again, can you tell people one more time what's your website?
Yes, definitely. So it's unleashingnaturalhumanity.com. The on Facebook it's Unleashing Natural Humanity, as well as on YouTube, Unleashing Natural Humanity.
Okay, awesome. And I'm gonna post this on my website, olenkoskitchen.com, and then the YouTube too. I'm gonna like combine the part one and part two. So thank you
Awesome.
so much. Thank you for joining. Good night, Facebook Live, and I will speak to you soon. Okay, love and light. Bye. Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Eric.